How are you, everybody? You're very welcome back. It's Gavin and Stephen here from the Life Skills Academy. We are touching on a topic of the highly capable but highly stressed teen at the moment. But just to mention before we delve a bit deeper into that, based on feedback from a lot of people, they were enjoying the videos and saying that it was just kind of tricky to listen to because they can't listen to it on the go. So we've moved these kind of chats that myself and Gav are having. We've moved them to Spotify, and they're available there as well. So we'll get a link below, and you can click on that, and you can listen to us on Spotify if you're out for a walk or in the car, whatever it may be. It'll just be a lot easier to access these kind of things. So just to mention that. Before we kick off, Gav, it's a 15-minute timer again, keeping us as efficient as possible. And yeah, I suppose we'll jump straight into it. Are you ready to go?
Yep.
Do you want a few minutes before we start the timer, or are you ready to go?
Beep.
Okay, ready? We're off. So again, the highly capable but highly stressed teen.
Yeah.
We see these examples across the board, but I suppose when parents are seeing these examples in their house, what can they do to help? I suppose.
So, like we said, first of all, you need to understand, and then you need to, once you understand, you can then have a pathway, a solution. So the first step of understanding is let's deal with, when you're in the middle of it, it's always hard. If someone in the family is so stressed, you're like, geez, what's going on? What's wrong? So the first thing is understand, like, what is stress? So stress, if we define it, it's literally just when we perceive a challenge that's highly unmeaningful to us. So just think for your own in your own life. Stress only occurs when we're doing something that we perceive more challenges than support, but that these challenges are not meaningful to us. We don't perceive that they're highly meaningful. They're not in our minds inspiring to overcome. So that's the first step of understanding. What is stress? The second thing is where we want to get to is we're not going to avoid the challenges, okay? But what we want to do is we want to effectively manipulate our perception to see the challenges as meaningful. Once the brain sees the challenges as meaningful, it embraces pains and pleasure in the pursuit of its purpose. And I know that sounds nice, but neurologically, we go into our prefrontal areas, and through GABA and glutamate, we regulate the amygdala, and we no longer are looking to avoid the thing in front of us and seek an immediate gratification that's not there. So that's what stress is. Any questions on that, Steve?
Yeah. So what can parents do when they see their kid being kind of stressed? Now understanding a bit more what stress is, what can they do to help the child?
So, we're going to give examples of people we've worked with in this. So the first thing is look at it. It's more than likely an identity crisis within the child. So, for example, I was work.
Based on that, identity is a big thing as well. What is the identity? What's the meaning of the identity? I suppose.
So identity is obviously the core beliefs you have about yourself, right? The core beliefs you have about yourself. But your identity is effectively another way of looking at it. It's an identity key. It allows you access or declines you access from a lot of things. So dependent on how your identity has been built up from the ground, you either get access to events, things, or you don't get access to things. Okay, so what does that even mean? So let's just take the example of I was working with a 16-year-old, 16, 17-year-old who was straight A students all the way up, very, very sporty, so top A's, made all the teams, captain of the teams, was a champion Irish dancer. And she came up in her school with, she is the best and I'm a high achiever. That identity was given to her by outside authorities. Unwittingly, parents kind of, you know what I mean? Parents, teachers, preachers,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're the best, you're a high achiever, etc., etc. So she became to think of, who am I? Well, I'm the best. I'm a high achiever. That's who I am. So then what happened was, as you progress through the ranks and you become, let's call it, you're a big fish in a small pool. But then when you become, let's say, good, make the next transition, and you find you're up against much stiffer competition. This is in the Irish dancing. And so what happened was, in terms of her identity, and this is going to feed all back into stress and anxiety. So what happened was she hit an event, which was she was now competing on international stage. And because she was competing with people that were of a similar standard to her now, because they're all top at this stage, and she wasn't coming out on top like she normally used to come on top with. And suddenly she's like, well, I'm not the best anymore. I used to win all these things, but now I'm not. I'm not in her perception. I'm not high achieving anymore. What's going on? That
So that
creates
challenge, yeah, that challenge was challenging her identity. It wasn't just
identity.
a challenge. Yeah,
So this is, think of, like, your identity is quite simple. It's just a set of core beliefs you have about yourself, and you get them through interactions with people over time and interaction with events. There's only two real ways you create core beliefs in your identity. Okay, it doesn't have to be this huge, So anyway, so that creates an uncertainty of who am I. And remember what we've said in previous videos. There's an uncertainty principle. When the brain perceives uncertainty, it drops into its amygdala, and its amygdala wants to escape predators and run to prey. Think about if I dropped you into a jungle right now, your first day of school, or let's just take the jungle. So if I put you in a jungle right now, you don't know the scenarios, you're not worried about where do I get my cup of tea. You're kind of going,
yeah,
I don't know where I am. And
yeah,
your brain is, you're on threat alert. So anytime your brain perceives an uncertainty, not any time, but proportion of the time, it can drop into that amygdala. So for her, what was happening was, obviously there's an identities challenge. Who am I anymore? Uncertainty. Who am I anymore? Drops into the amygdala, and now is trying to go. This I see this person is low achieving. I'm not the best anymore. And now looking to avoid resenting part of herself that she now sees, because she can't avoid it. I'm not winning anymore. And now she's trying to seek an escape, an immediate out of here. So this girl was looking to quit Irish dancing. So it was her mother got on to me, and she was highly distressed. They didn't know what to do because she loves dancing, but yet she wants to leave it. She didn't want to do it anymore. Like, what are we going to do? And it was affecting school, it was affecting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure this is a common story amongst
yeah.
households. People can recognize this. So the very first, does that make sense so far? Am I painting is that
Yeah, you're
picture?
I
Do you
think
see where we are?
that the event itself being challenging as a kind of a once-off challenge or a number of challenges. When you're in that moment, it's kind of a challenge of the identity. But would that come from because the values are coming from an outside source that person's actually trying to please and just wants to be a pleaser all the time to
Well,
keep that identity?
Well, absolutely. Like the police. So just so not to kind of stray too far from, but yes, I mean, look at it like this. So pleasers, again, it's one of those things that, again, high achieving, highly capable teens, if they're always getting compliments, you know what I mean? That's where their identity is. I'm the best. So anyone that, like, the big issue is then they go for jobs. They may not like what they do, but because they're so highly capable in terms of, I won't say that, but oh, you're brilliant at this. And suddenly they find themselves doing stuff because they're getting compliments. And now this is a problem because
Yeah,
now I need the compliment, but now they're afraid of the criticism. And so now the destabilizations happen again. So everything is coming externally. Their identity is coming from the external. If they say I'm great, I'm doing great. If I'm not, or if I'm not that I'm not doing great, if I'm not receiving the praise, I'm in trouble.
yeah,
But the key thing here to say is that, what I would love for people to understand is that the event itself is the blessing. So what does
yeah,
that mean? It's like the tight shoe on your foot that's giving you a blister. There's nothing wrong with the tight shoe. There's nothing wrong with the blister. It's telling you something. It's giving you valuable feedback. It's saying, hold
yeah,
on a second here, your shoe is too small.
yeah,
So the event is just showing, and the earlier this happens, the better. The event is just showing that the identity has been constructed in an unwise fashion. So now that we understand, or now that we see this, because I'm sure most people recognize this, like you'll come up with fear of failure, all of that stuff. I'm not a high achiever. The first thing we do then, and we've mentioned this is a big thing, we always come back to this because it's a foundational law of human behavior. It's the foundational law of all psychology. If this is not covered, then there's a missing link here. So the first step we must do, what we did with this girl, is we elicited her highest values. What does that mean? So I didn't listen to what she said was important to her. We went through 13 steps. Credit to Dr. John Demartini for this, his value determination process. And we went through these 13 steps in absolute detail. And we looked at what her life demonstrated was highly meaningful to her, not what she said. Oh,
Yeah.
I like to answer. I don't care about that. I
I
want to
think
know.
we've gone into this in a different video, I think, as well. If people want to look back over that, we did it in
Voids and
voids
values, I think it's
and
called. Okay,
values,
we
and we've gone
stick
into
the link
there.
in here. But I think for anyone who's just coming on here, we'll just give a very brief description of it. And stop me, Steve, because I know we're on a timer here. I can see
Yeah,
you cringing here, going, please don't go too far into this. But very, very, very quickly. So our minds, our brains are directional. People mightn't hear this. What does that mean? It effectively means that the most simple way I think I can describe this without going. Do you remember we ever played the game Hot and Cold when you were young?
yeah.
Too hot? Are you hot? Okay, you're getting hotter, you're getting hotter, you're getting hotter. You're
Yeah.
roasting, or you're getting colder, you're getting colder. Your brain is works like this. It's a telos seeking organ. It's a meaningful seeking organ. The closer it gets to the thing that it finds most meaningful, it switches on. Prefrontal areas come on, blood glucose and oxygen come to the prefrontal areas. The further it gets from that heat, it goes down into its amygdala and it wants to seek immediate gratification and avoid the challenges of the moment. Make sense?
Yeah.
This value comes from the most meaningful void. It's not a made up thing. So it's not something you can kind of just go, oh, I'd like my value to be this way. It's not. It comes from the moment you've left the womb, you're creating voids. And the things that you feel are most meaningfully missing becomes the thing your brain wants to most meaningfully fulfill. Fulfillment, import into itself. These things become important. That's why we want to import them into our lives. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Delve a bit
So
deeper now as we go, but we can move on.
okay, so what we did then is we went through her life and we established what her highest values were. So remember, she thought she was your identity revolves around your highest value. So she thought my identity is I'm the best, I'm a high achiever. So what we actually discovered was the thing that was most meaningful to her was not that she's the best or she's a high achiever, was that she loved the rhythm, she loved mastery. The thing that was most inspiring to her was the mastery and the rhythm and the mastery of the technique in dancing. The second thing that was highest in our value list was it was her study and all that. It was so she really wanted to have a meaningful vocation when she was older. And this is only if this is a fourth year, fifth year girl. She's very much, you know what I mean. She's super head on her shoulders. And then social was the third thing. So then what she saw is actually, okay, my identity is okay. I really want to master. This is what I do. This is who I am. Yeah, I really love mastering rhythm and rhythm and the technique in the dancing. I really want to have a meaningful vocation on it. And suddenly she got a huge, big. She suddenly start her identity became much bigger than whether I win or lose at
Yeah.
the dance competition.
Who am I if I'm not the best kind of thing?
So the next, this is a really interesting bit. And this like we floored her with this as well. Was like, okay, cool. After we kind of rooted her in the highest value and she saw, okay, it kind of released it. Okay. Oh, this is who I am. Then we went, okay, right. Where are you now a low achiever? And she was, well, like, I'm not a low achiever. And she was humble about it. She wasn't like, oh, I don't low achieve. And I was like, where are you the worst at stuff? Where are you low achieving? And she was, at the beginning, she found it hard. And I go, well, are you good at cleaning your bedroom? And she kind of looked at me. I said, well, what would your mom say? And your mom, she goes, no, probably not. So could I say you're a low achiever in terms of keeping your room pristine, tidy, as compared to your notes and study notes? She goes, yeah, no, okay. And we went through that, and then we basically went through all of the areas. We found areas that she said, you know what? No, I'm really no good at that. I'm really no good at that. So what we showed her, she was both.
Yeah.
She had the ability to high achieve in the areas of her highest value, and she low achieved, and she was the worst in areas that she didn't care about. And then we
She
went,
was
what?
blind. She was blind to those
She was
areas.
blind because she never. So instead of thinking, oh, I like we said in the dance, it's like, okay, I'm the best, I'm not the worst. And I said, hold on a second, I'm both. And then what we did was, okay, what's the advantages to you of being a low achiever? Okay, well, I'm not expelling energy doing stuff that I really don't like to do. I can delegate stuff. People take care of me in these areas. Why is that a benefit to you? Well, it feels nice to be taken care of and for people to do stuff to you, etc., etc., etc. So we showed her the benefits of, let's call it, those traits of laziness, etc. Am I making sense to you?
Yeah, but that she had those traits already.
She had them. She was both. She was
She
a high
was
achiever and she was a low achiever.
yeah.
Okay. She did the actions of a high achiever and she did the actions of a low achiever. So she was both.
And just for context, because I know parents will be listening to this, I'm wondering, like, that's for everybody. That's not
Yep.
just this dancer girl. That's for everybody. Has areas where they're this and areas where they're this.
So one of the questions I ask when I go into teams and stuff like that, senior hurlers, and we go and we go, okay, who's disciplined and reliable here? And you get all the hands going up, oh, I'm really disciplined. And then you go, okay, who's lazy as sin? And no one wants to put their hand up. Then we kind of go, okay, cool, right? And we go and we find areas that are low on the priority list. And then
Yeah.
suddenly we're going to go,
Across the
oh,
board.
geez, then every hand, the whole place go up. And then you go, what's the advantage to you of being lazy in this area? And then we find it's an energy conservation trait. Okay. So your brain switches. Okay. It's like a battery in a remote control. If your battery in the remote control was giving off energy the whole time, it would be useless. Same with
Mm.
us human beings, because we're purpose orientated. Our brains are purpose. That's it. As we said, it's a meaningful seeking organ. It wants to switch on when we're finding what we're meant to do, and
Yeah.
switches up. Okay. So that's a really important thing. So she saw she was both. So that cracked her identity of, oh, I am the best. I have to, I'm always the best. I'm always a high achiever. No, we're not. I'm both. And it totally dictates on what's meaningful to me, of where I store these things. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. The next thing what we do then is we took the dance competitions, and we showed, remember what we said at the very beginning, when we can make challenges meaningful. What does that mean? How does these dance competitions, if you lose them, how does that serve you in your highest value? So when we helped her create a kind of a mission for her, like a large goal for her life of, a meaningful vocation, mastery and rhythm of dance, so she can teach other people and stuff. We began to link up all of the benefits of these of her now much bigger identity, her now much bigger plan for herself. And suddenly she was able to see all of these things that she was getting from them, whether she won, whether she was picked, whether she wasn't picked. And she started to see that these quote unquote failures were actually on the way to the things that were most inspiring to her. The thing she was getting, opportunities were coming, blah 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 blah. You can see where I'm going with this. I'm cutting it short for the sake of this. But now these challenges that were totally unmeaningful started to become meaningful to her, because she could see how they were on the way to where she
Yes.
wanted, instead of a blocker. In terms of,
That would have
it's a
been,
blocker. Do you get what I'm saying?
that would have kind of got rid of the stress and the anxiety around the event itself, because it wasn't challenging her identity anymore.
Okay, because it was bringing her. The reason why is because once something becomes meaningful, linked to the highest value, our prefrontal areas switch on again, and the challenge, which was de-stressful, now becomes use stressful. And we mentioned this in our last video before.
Yeah,
Use stress, it's a real thing. USC, STRSCC. It's a real thing. You distress when something is low and stressful and not meaningful to you, and you experience use stress when things are very challenging, but the challenges are highly meaningful to you. There's different chemicals that are produced. It's a different state. So, so these challenges are now seen as, and so what happens is the brain, through GABA and glutamate, shuts off the amygdala, and she's no longer getting that. "Oh, I want to get out of here. This is so painful." Like, do you understand what I'm saying? And we
you
stay
said
here.
there, very important. It's on the way, not in the way.
Yeah. And last thing then we do, Steve, because I know we're probably running out of time here, and this has to be a thing. The last thing then we do is we look at, we depolarize. What does that mean? We ask, what would be the disadvantages to you, to your highest value, if you lose or do not get selected or are not picked? So I want to say that again. What are the disservices to your highest value if your fantasy comes through? And we hold her accountable to answering that question 20 times, 20, 30 times. And eventually what she sees is, she goes, oh, like, for example, if I was to constantly get selected, there's a lot less introspection that goes along. How is that a disadvantage for me? Well, I wouldn't be here talking to you. How is that a disadvantage to you? Well, now I understand much more about myself and where I want to go with my life. I now have a new identity. I now see things. I'm not, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah,
And we can link that to every single area of our life. We can link it socially. How is it helping you socially? Well, I find out who my friends are, and we talk about it. And does that bring yourself closer? Yeah, that brings me closer. Why is that important to you? Well, because connection, my friends are really, really important to me. So, whereas if you won, well, my friends might be like nearly have me on a pedestal. There might be a disconnect between us. So we depolarize that perception and we bring it back into balance. And if I can just give you one example, because I think people can resonate with this. Am I okay to give an example here, Steve?
yeah, we're over time by a couple of minutes. But if this example, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, look, your your face says it all.
Yeah,
So 200. Imagine you say you won 200 million euros in the lotto. We started this example before, but I never properly finished it. So just think of this for the audience. When the first time, if you actually feel like you won this, and you go, "Oh my God, now I can do this, 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 and this," in your perception, in the moment, winning the lotto, 200 million, is all support, no challenge. Therefore, what happens is if I said to you, and imagine you believe me, and I was about to take the ticket away from you, and you were like, oh my God, you'd have the fear of losing that. Okay, but let's look at this. If I was able to depolarize that perception for you, if I spent 3/4 of an hour, and we do this the whole time, we do this with kids in school, we do this with athletes, just to give them the example. If we were able to kind of go, okay, what are the challenges to you win 200 million euros in lotto? And then we go, there are none. Okay. So do you have brothers and sisters? Yes. Okay. Will they need houses and mortgages and stuff like that? Yeah. Do you feel you'll need to pay those mortgages if they, yeah, do you know, I would have a bit of pressure on that. Okay, cool. So when those house issues get paid for, will children need to go to college? Yeah. Do you think there'll be a bit of pressure for you to pay those things? Yeah. How is that going to change the dynamic with you and your siblings? Yeah, it's going to create a weirdness. Socially, what about your friends? Do they need to get houses? Yeah. We basically, security, is that going to become an issue for you? Yeah. Do you know what? If people know I have 200 million, I could be the target of gangs, etc. So we spend 30, 40 minutes showing them all of the challenges that are there associated with winning that massive sum. And at the very end, when we see the equal support and challenge, we can kind of go, you know what, if it doesn't happen, okay, I'm okay because I don't have to deal with those challenges now. If it does happen, okay, I'm okay with that too. So what happens is you become objective about it. And once we're objective about it, our prefrontal areas turn on again. And we don't drop, because remember, anything that's all good, all bad sends us into our amygdala. And we want to seek that which we are fantasize and run away from that which we resent. I know that's a little bit there, Steve. Your face tells me to stop
Yeah,
talking, so I
not
shall
too
stop talking.
much. But listen, I hope you got a bit out of that, guys, about just especially the definition of stress and the anxiety part, and then the definition of the identity as well. It's important to identify those things first in order to know how to deal with these situations. If you are experiencing this highly capable but highly stressed teen in your house, and again, do reach out, DMs, emails. Our numbers are on the website and everything like that as well. So don't hesitate to contact us. We're happy to answer any questions you have and help in any way we can. So listen, mind yourselves, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.